right, welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. I'm Heidi Kuda, and I'm with High Fidelity and Jim Stewartson. This is our weekly live stream where we talk about news and recap our previous episode. And I have a dream, and my dream is that these guys are not going to make me laugh while I'm trying to drink my tea. It's a modest dream, but it's real. You guys always really are so funny every time I take a sip of tea. I don't know if you do it intentionally, but I'm going to try not to spit it up tonight. Anyway, lots of stuff going on. We have a super cool interview that we just dropped today with a Belarusian-born playwright who now lives in Sweden and just produced and directed a play and wrote a play about Navalny, the trial. It's called Navalny, the trial. And he wrote it before his death, and now they just staged it. But he had so many important insights that we can't wait to share with you guys. And there's some other news, and there's some good news. But let's get to the salty shit, Jim. What's salty? What's happening in salty news today?
I don't know. I'm just salty in general. Salty at the fucking general as usual.
General disorder.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the latest, most sort of terrifying event was this Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association meeting in Las Vegas, in which, you know, I mean, the most lunatic motherfuckers you have ever heard. Like put Mike Flynn's like reawakened like event to shame, except the problem is the people there were fucking have guns and cars and Humvees and all kinds of shit. We have this weird thing in America that nobody else has called the sheriff. A lot of people don't realize that sheriffs aren't really a thing. We kind of invented that shit, I guess, to make Western movies interesting.
No, that sheriffs are descended from the Old English.
I don't want.
It's an English thing that we imported. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So, what?
Anyway.
Yes. Anywho.
No, I don't even know where I was anymore. Oh, it's the fucking sheriffs.
So armed people
are, you know, the deputy dog with his fucking star and whatnot. Somebody's fucking with me over here. Sorry.
Jim is in an undisclosed bunker.
Yeah, a deputy dog, fucking sheriffs from cartoons and shit, right? Are running the country, you know, at the local level. A lot of these guys have a ton of power, and they're not. They are not beholden to the Constitution of the United States of America. They are beholden to some bizarre ass seditionist nonsense that's been cooked up from the bowels of, you know, right wing, you know, Putin propaganda, and it's very fucking dangerous because this is the thin blue line between, you know, us and them. Right. And if they turn the cops, you know, in any significant number, you know, what you don't want is the cops versus the army, right? You don't want some like, and that's the point of it. Unfortunately, I don't mean to like doom say that we're gonna, you know, turn into the movie Civil War sometime soon, but the scenario, like the end state of the scenario that they are pushing is that, like, there's no question about what they're doing, which is building an anti-democratic, anti-constitutional network of brainwashed sheriffs who most of them really believe this shit, who, you know, got up on stage yesterday spewing the bonkers shit, like pure anti-Semitic. The anti-vax stuff was off the chain. Like, as bad as anything you hear at any of these places. And again, these people walked out of that place listening to Mike Flynn scream, by the way, at the press for like 20 minutes. It was disturbing, to be honest with you. And they walked out of there and got in their fucking squad cars. And that's terrifying. That should, that to me is the thing that was most alarming of the last, few days.
So that is super horrifying because, as we know, Germany has an anti-fascist police force, and the reason that they do is because I know it's going to be a struggle to get through this hour. From 33 to 39, they Nazified the German police force. And so beginning in 33, the Nazis took control of and transformed the police forces of the Weimar Republic into instruments of state repression. And eventually that led to genocide. So what Jim is talking about is very serious. And this is, again, where we wonder, we have, the head of the FBI talking about, China's going to do this. Meanwhile, we literally have entire law enforcement agencies in our country who believe in Russian propaganda as fed to them through QAnon funnels and whatnot. So this is super distressing, and it's not anything we don't know about, but it seems like there's always this escalation.
Yeah.
None of this stuff's funny, but we're in a funny situation. So nothing good, nothing fun, nothing good. But we do have lots of good news, which we'll be getting to. And I'm glad you bring that up, Jim, because once again, we just say to our enforcement agencies, those who have not been infected by this strain of narrative warfare, we need y'all. We need you to do your jobs and protect the citizens from what I don't know, was it Malcolm Nance who called some of these guys fake ass sheriffs? I think he was talking about the deputized ones, but nevertheless.
I mean, look, these guys were up there talking over and over again about posse comitatus and about how what they plan to do is to build, and Patrick Byrne was up there, by the way, saying all the quiet parts. So what we need cops to do, and he said this, is build a clandestine cellular network of sheriffs, and showed a map with like fucking cells, like terrorist cells, right? And speaking in those terms that, like, well, let's talk about the numbers. There's 300 million Americans. How many of them are patriots? Like, literally saying to cops who were following along and believing this shit that there's a legitimate argument to make that the cops and the government and America is on two different sides and is going to come to a violent armed conflict. Saying these things out loud. And also, last thing I will say is, right after Mike Flynn flipped the fuck out for 20 minutes, he got up on stage with Aubrey Cottle, the guy who wrote his psychological warfare manuals, who said to the cops in attendance, America's future is going to be building America's future is going to be and America's future is the one who does Mike Flynn's Pizzagate shit, right? America's future is going to be training them in irregular warfare. So irregular warfare, if people recall, is what Mike Flynn said that he was using in order to create a white nationalist cult in 2016, which ended up flipping the election. So Mike Flynn's PSYOPs guy, who was a violent J6 insurrectionist, you can see the pictures of him at it, is now going to train police officers in the literal activity that Mike Flynn has been engaging against the United States for 8 years, including the January 6th insurrection. And this being announced by a January 6th insurrectionist. So it's just the damnedest fucking thing that these people are just doing this in the open. Nobody cares.
Well, we care, and for anybody who is just new to what we do at RadPod, you can follow the facts at Jim Stewartson's Twitter feed. He shows all the video from these events, and he does this work. So literally, like, we don't have to suffer through it. And quite frankly, I don't know how you do it. And just to continue on the fact that there is a template for what he is warning about, it's very important to know that the Nazis expanded police power and used the police to target people they considered their political, racial, social, and criminal opponents. And so the fact that he's been warning about this for years, and that we are seeing this escalation, and quite frankly, we talk about this a lot, this is existential for everybody. It's existential for those who are creating this type of warfare against America. And it's existential for those of us who wish to see our democracy continue in a healthy way beyond November. So GOJ, if you're listening, FBI, if you're listening, what are you doing about the radicalization of our law enforcement agencies? It's nothing good.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a few structures in the country that separate us from tyranny and chaos, right? Law enforcement, the military are two of the most important of those components, right? And those are the two components that these people are going after the hardest. There's a reason for that, because that those are the the foundational parts of any democracy, really, but this one in particular. So it's not a small threat, and I see no action at all about it. I see a little bit of sort of almost snarky press about it, like, oh, look here, we're out on the fringe of the, I just saw a title, sorry, it's the fucking fringe. It's not anymore.
Yeah.
This is, approaching half the country is in this general camp, and an increasingly large number of them are wishing for violence, who want a conflict because they think that that's the only way that they're going to win, because they think that they're in a war that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They're in an offensive war against democracy, and they think they're in a defensive war against, Satan.
Yeah. This is very serious. Snark is not going to save us. I had our friend Dmitri Kovegan on my happy hour Tuesday for Betty Dangerous, and he was the Navalny campaigner who was poisoned for his activism. I wanted him to explain what it's like living in Russia. And he said that people walk around like they're already in prison. They don't understand reality, many of them, because they're fed pathological lies all day. They can't trust anyone because they're surrounded by informants. Business owners can lose their business to the state at any moment. It's a surveillance state. He said even doctors' offices are wired by state police. And I bring this up because he started with how we need to retire snark. Snark is not going to save us. Maybe it's sort of a a way that people kind of protect their psyche because they don't want to believe that this is happening. But it was Wes Clark Sr. who said in 2016, we're going to become like Russia. And many of the people you're describing, Jim, they don't know. It's like the psyops that have been run against people. Just because you're in law enforcement, you're not immune to it. Just because you are, an educated person, you're not immune to it. It's like people don't have immunity to this stuff. And I was around law enforcement in 2022 that were completely QAnoned out, and they believed they were patriots, and they believed that Democrats were the existential threat, and they didn't arrive at that conclusion by themselves.
No, it's a look, there have been this, there's been this strain in America for all of America since the beginning. I mean, America was founded in many ways on racism, and let's be, super clear. I mean, but that strain which has been around and has done come up in events like Waco and Oklahoma City in the past has been expanded and wedged and amplified by our enemies, to the point where the kind of shit that you would only hear in a neo-Nazi like secret meeting somewhere and fucking Doohickeys farm or whatever, right, is now like in a large hotel in Las Vegas being broadcast to the fucking world as if it's perfectly normal. So as always, psyops, they don't come out of nowhere. They never do. They are always based on something that already exists.
Right.
You don't just magically come up with this shit. It has to be seeded from something, and in this case, it's
and that's why those who are trying to minimize this as grifting and all of that, they are completely, I think, part of the problem, and that they play into the narrative warfare. This isn't grifting. This is targeting a population with radicalization and, yes, high fidelity.
Grifting is the cover they use for the fact that they are breaking people's minds in their own country. Mm-hmm. Don't call them crazy. Don't call them grifters. Call them what they are. They are participants in cognitive warfare who are attacking their fellow countrymen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. Nice and succinct.
Yeah, I mean, so for 4 fucking years now, I've been, I took a look at you and I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't know anything about psychological warfare, but, and, for 4 fucking years, it has been not only proven that that's what's going on here, but the fucking details have all been filled in. How does it work? What are the processes? What are the influences? All of it. And then what happened? Yeah, was it yesterday, day before? The Post publishes a paper from the Russian government that was leaked, which is like, okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to wage psychological warfare on America. Out loud, like that's the name of it. We're waging information psychological warfare on adversarial states and names, the United States, and has details and names and it's all Dugan shit. It's all the same stuff that we've been fucking hearing for a long time about what their rationale is for it. Right? What's the rationale? Oh, we're just trying to do it's just about making things multi-global because you guys are the hegemony and all this fucking bullshit, right? It's the same stuff, they've been saying for 20 years, but it's now here is now being spread by, people like Flynn, who named his QAnon tour after Dugin's book. All of this shit is not coincidental. It's not coincidental that Dugin's book that Mike Flynn named his tour after literally has a chapter that said Russia's favorite solution is U.S. civil war. That's what it says right in the book that Mike Flynn named his tour after. It's not hidden. How is that going to happen? The heartland is going to attack the coastal elites. That sound fucking familiar to anybody? What is Mike Flynn doing right now? Going on a 35-city tour all around the heartland, all around the country, to plant little malignant cancer cells so they can metastasize into something that's going to kill us. You're muted.
Am I?
Well, now you're not, but you were.
I unmuted her. Sorry, she was giving an echo.
Yeah, when Jim mutes, the echo goes away. I think it's better now. Is there anybody that you know of, Jim or HiFi, that is actually condemning this action? Just because you know how Christian organizations banded together to condemn Mike Flynn and Roger Stone as false prophets and actually got them removed from the circuit in certain areas. Is there anybody that we know of at high-level law enforcement that's condemning this, or do we need to force an action on this because it's important?
There's not really. There's an entire, the one of the big fucking unions, and it's kind of one of the sketchier ones, right? But it's got 12,000 members or something like that. Endorsed Donald Trump, the rapist, criminal, organized crime, fucking Russian pig that is currently indicted 91 times, is endorsed by law enforcement.
Yeah.
Then they're not really law enforcement, are they?
Well, no. And that is the problem, right?
Yeah.
Is that law has been completely turned around and weaponized. The language of the law has been turned on its fucking head. I was thinking about the term Christian nationalism, right? It's very sort of similar idea. Nothing wrong with being Christian at all. Not even anything wrong with being a nationalist exactly. It's got connotations or whatever, but be right wing. I sort of don't give a shit. So a Christian and a nationalist. Okay. I could kind of live with that. The problem is that Christian nationalist isn't Christian and nationalist. It's Christian nationalist, right? It's like we want a Christian nation, which is different from I'm a Christian, I love my country, right?
Yeah.
That's very different from I'm somebody who's in a cult who thinks that this nation is Christian. And, I spent a lot of time, today, unfortunately, having to argue with people, Flynn's people in particular, who said, that there is no separation of church and state, and that, in fact, the Bill of Rights does not say that. It says only that you are free to exercise your religion, when in fact it's not true. The first 10 words of the Constitution say that I could be a fucking atheist and you can't shove your fucking religion in my ears.
Word.
It's literally what the first 10 words of the Constitution say.
Right.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Establishment comes before exercise clause. And they did that for a reason. And let me explain very briefly the reason, because I think it's important. We had a revolution against what? The Church of England, an imperialist, colonialist theocracy. That, you know, I love my British friends, but that fucking country was a theocratic, fascist, imperialist, you know, menace. And we rightly, as Americans, didn't want to live under that tyranny. And so our founders, who, despite being, you know, all kinds of imperfect, got it. They understood, hey, that thing that has been fucking, you know, oppressing us for, you know, in our land where we live and taxing us and doing all this shit. We don't want that. We don't want them shoving their religion down our throat. We don't want them shoving their rules down our throat. None of it. And so we had a revolution against the exact thing that these people are being taught is what America was really supposed to be. Because, and this is my favorite part, and I'll land upon it. Mike Flynn says, well, you see there's 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, and there's 10 of those Bible things too. And so, of course, and I'm like, he does it all the time. And he just finds these ridiculous ways to, you know, instead of realizing, hey, look, there's 10 fingers on my hands. I wonder if that has anything to do with there being 10 of stuff sometimes, right? Instead of recognizing how stupid it is, he just repeats it over and over again. And what that does is it has something called the Mandela effect, or psyoping, or gaslighting, or hoaxing, pick whatever fucking
influence.
Lying.
Yeah.
Gaslighting. Bullshit.
Repetition.
It's the same shit, right? So you just keep saying that stuff. And okay, last thing. My favorite one is this, because it is the most elementary kind of set of fallacies. He says, Mike Flynn says, there's going to be a new narrative, brand new narrative from these libtards. They're going to say that there's a separation of church and state. Can you believe how crazy they are? He says it like every single interview, that. Just like that. And now, like, I'm having to argue with people on Twitter about it.
Wow.
It's not like when he says this shit, it doesn't get absorbed. It does. And so now we've got people running around who literally think that the Democrats are trying to steal their theocracy from them.
Wow.
So.
Wow. So what that syncs with is the report that Americans don't read books anymore. And am I muted, or can you hear me? The fact that Americans don't read books anymore is that they're willing to believe in all kinds of like magical thinking. And of course, these non-grifters who are engaging in psychological operations, they know exactly what they're doing. They're feeding repetition. And again, weaponizing people, often church-going people's empathy and goodness against themselves, and keeping them in that state of fear, trauma, panic, desperation. And so it's very cynical, and it's very obvious. And to those of us who do this work, it's so obviously promoting Russian goals for America, which is why it's very important that we always bring people news from around the world. And we've been doing a series about art being a weapon of war. And we have an incredible interview with Dmitri Plax, the playwright I was telling you about, who did the Navalny, the trial play, which is right now currently at the Swedish Royal Dramatic Theatre. And do we have a clip? Can we start showing some of those interview pieces? And Because he is speaking English, we didn't have time to find a translator who spoke Belarusian. So we brought our friend Dmitri Kovegan in to help coordinate this. But I want you guys to take a minute to listen, because first of all, please watch episode 93, Art as a Weapon, number 2. Watch the whole thing. It's 40 minutes, but take a minute to try to listen to him. Yes, high fidelity.
I'm actually going to run that episode on Twitter live after this.
Great, because thousands of people, that's okay. Thousands of people will see it on Twitter more so than people who watch it on YouTube. So it's really important that we do that.
Hey, that reminds me, if you're on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe and turn on the notifications.
Oh,
and if you're not on YouTube,
smash that button.
We are the worst at promoting it, but yeah, man, we need your help to keep doing this work. So please do all the things. All right,
because then you get to see cool stuff like this interview with Dmitri Plax.
And I think the culture is crucial for us right now, because the whole war Russia staged against Ukraine, for example, it is a kind of cultural war, and the whole situation around Russian regime, it's also, for me, it's only now that the Soviet Union are dying, or is dying. I don't know how to say it properly.
Amazing.
Because I think that for 30 years, since 1991, Soviet Union was in like living death, and this war against Ukraine is the final battle. I think what we are seeing. It's the very bloody dying of Soviet Union, because it's also a cultural war in that sense, because the old almost dead culture would very much like to kill the new one.
He's so fucking good.
Yeah.
The old culture would like to kill the new one. And that's exactly what we're seeing, right? We're seeing, these traditional Catholics, these hardcore conservatives, these right-wing people who want to drag us back. I mean, the abortion law that they're protecting is dragging our asses back to the 1860s. No, it's time to move forward. It's time to progress. It's time to advance. I mean, our planet is dying. Right? Our planet is burning the fuck up, and we're arguing about who cares who has what genitals and puts them on who, as long as they're consenting adults. Meanwhile, let's burn some more forest down, because no one's paying attention. Sorry.
It's all right, HiFi.
No, you have it.
No, I feel it. I feel it.
Do it, brother. Yeah, the Soviet Union is what Putin is trying to reconstitute.
That's right.
I mean, to be fair, and to Dimitri's point, I mean, that's what is happening. Is he's really pissed off. Like, you got to kind of hand it to the little fucking psychopath, right? He was mad at the United States when we helped to overthrow the Soviet Union. He was really fucking mad, and he spent a long time and then murdered a lot of his own people in order to get back in power, and to try and bring it back. And every fucking thing that homeboy has done, for the last 30 years, has been to that goal. And I think it's in some ways remarkable, that his country is as intact as it is, considering, what the fucking whiplash they've, gone through over the last 30 years, right? They had 10 years of relatively Western-ish kind of, attempted democracy. And that got, absolutely slaughtered by the leftovers of the KGB and people like Putin, who intentionally sabotaged it and then, created, false flags in Chechnya and other places in order to strongman his way into power.
It's the whole interview is so here. The whole interview is so freaking remarkable. And again, it's getting points of view from somebody who grew up next door to Russia, understands this in a way that we possibly can't, and also sees that what happened in 91, what happened 30 years ago, was something unprecedented in the world. There was this collapse of a system that ruled, virtually half the world. And we didn't know how to deal with it. And we still don't. And the West went in thinking that they could do deals and business and, could somewhat be helpful. And that is not what happened. We still don't know how to deal with it. And meanwhile, America, I know you're not laughing at me, Jim. Meanwhile, America is so incredibly infected with U.S. Putinists, and alternately, most Americans are so unwilling to believe how deep the infection has gone. We want to believe that there's some sort of barrier between, us making our choices for ourselves and actually being influenced in an invasion of the body snatchers type of way to actually do the bidding of another country. He says so many things so eloquently. Let's hear another clip from him. Do you have ideas on anything people can do to help others, or is it just to continue creating art in the hopes that it resonates with people?
It's not enough probably to only creating art, but what I can do, it's as I already told you, it's to create art. But hopefully other people can do something else. I don't really know what should be done, but I think it's the situation is very complicated because I don't think we had historically, we had something like that before, because the whole, or the system which was in power in basically half of the world collapsed for 30 years ago. And yes, and we don't know how to deal with it, because I think it's when Western powers tried to do business with new Russia, so to speak, it was, in the beginning at least, it was the honest attempt to help. But no one knew how to deal with it. Our Western specialist on Soviet was specialist on Soviet,
It's our people. Like I look at Jake Sullivan, and he's talking about, we don't want to escalate in Ukraine. And that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Putin is a genocidal maniac committing war crimes, and he doesn't want to escalate.
There's a phrase that I'm fond of. Fascism doesn't stop. ever. It does not fucking stop on its own. You can't appease it. You can't live with it. You can't de-escalate with it. When you de-escalate with fascists, all you are doing is giving ground. Always. It is 100% of the time when you're dealing with a fascist or even a person who, you know, is a personal fascist, you know, people like this, where you know that everything that they are doing has an ulterior motive. Yeah, we just gotta, you know, stop being so fucking gullible.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I say, you know, I say gullible advisedly, because to be fair, a lot of really smart people get pulled into this shit. A lot of people, you know, who in other worlds might be friends of mine, right? I see out there like spreading this fucking horrible shit, and it's not because they're stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not even because they're gullible. It's because they were attacked.
Yeah.
You know, gullibility is a, let's call it a vulnerability. It's a, you know, it's a risk factor. If you tend to believe everything you hear, or you're, you know, super trusting, or you're not very good at, you know, social cues, for example, you know, it's a lot easier to get pulled into you know, one of these groups.
Yeah.
But the fact is that we're under assault.
Yeah.
We need to, and when people like Sullivan and others minimize it by, you know, saying, oh, well, we don't want to escalate. Poor Putin might get his little britches in a twist. Like, he's attacking us. And we have documents from them. You can just look around and see it. You can ask yourself why fucking GOP hasn't approved Ukraine aid in 20 months or whatever it is at this
Long
point.
time. Yep.
You don't, you know, there's nothing hidden about it anymore.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there are little, and I'll stop in this 1 second. There are little green shoots, because I know I get accused of being a doomer, right? Yeah. Like little things like, you know, and I don't mean to be always a Nicole Wallace stan, but I'm kind of a Nicole Wallace stan. You know, she was on there and she just said, you know, it's like the Trump campaign is waging psychological war on us.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck yes, yes, she said it. And we need to start recognizing that and allowing people to absorb the fact that it's not our fault. It's not anybody's fucking fault except these people, you know, who are our literal enemies, and the people who work for them inside America.
Yeah.
That are doing it to us.
Yeah.
And you know, my goal, and this, anybody who happens to be listening out there, my only fucking goal is reducing harm, is preventing these people from continuing to assault the minds of Americans.
Yeah.
And so, you know, come after me with all you want, knock yourself out, but you're fucking telling on yourself. I don't care about you.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know.
I don't care about any of you. I care about the future of my children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I so appreciate the work that you do every day, because you are not only exposing these folks, you're hurting them, and that is why Mike Flynn has tried to take legal action against you to silence you. He wouldn't have done that if it wasn't causing him real pain. I do want to say that I did retweet just now the open letter to Joe Biden that we wrote, the three of us, The Invisible War, Defending Americans Against Information Warfare. We have given him the words to tell Americans. And the reason I reposted it today is because more and more people in my life are becoming racist fucks, like conversations with them. They're othering their neighbors. So I am begging our president to address the nation on the invisible war of radicalization, because it's becoming not only very visible, we know that it's part of active measures led by the Kremlin and fanned by US Putinist full-on traitors against all that is decent. But it's decent people who don't realize that in the time that I've known them, they are now comfortable othering people. They get mad at me for talking about Christian nationalism, and they try to say it's the Muslims, it's this, don't you know about this? And I'm just like, wow, man, you didn't used to be like that. You didn't used to be like that. You used to not be a racist fuck. And it's very alarming, because I know that they're they're on the internet. They're on the internets, and it's affecting their brains. And one-on-one, I'm trying to have conversations with people. And again, I've learned to be a much better listener than somebody who's combative with them, because I want to keep people in my life. But it has to. Keir Giles told us a year ago, it has to come from the president on down. It has to come from Western leaders. That's the only way to begin the process of inoculation. So once again, I'm begging for that to happen. High Fidelity, do you have unless you guys want to chime in on that, do you have the clip about evil? What else do you have for us?
I don't know. I'll play you something. Let's see what happens.
He showed that his words meant something to him.
He's talking about Navalny.
That he showed us that words still can have an importance, because we are living in the world where words, our language, our words, losing importance.
That's what we're fighting.
Words are weaponized.
That's what we're fighting.
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there right now who are going to be talking about how one of our guests on our show is actually this horrible person, even though the man went out and got his PhD in his field. Like, he has published papers, he's written books, and they're out there bad mouthing him because they have to do something. Because if his words matter, then maybe those other people's words matter, and empathy is grown, and understanding, and people are educated.
There's no point in giving air to obvious online harmers.
Obvious operations. Right?
That's what they do. And
but here's the thing: is people know capitalism. Hold on, there's capitalism behind this. People are being paid to do this. Yeah, people are paying for this. We know that people are paying for this because we have Project Birmingham. We have, all sorts of private intelligence companies. We have Joel Zamel's Psi Group, right? We know that Eric Prince was training operatives. We know that the GOP was hiring teenagers to run online operations.
True.
Like, and we talk about some of the biggest operations of them all, right? Mike Flynn being one of them.
Yeah. Well, in defense of words have meaning. Jason Stanley was just on our show talking about one of his new projects, which deals with what he calls undermining propaganda. And that is trying to suck the meaning of words like a vampire, sucking the meaning. What we do is in defense of words. And that goes back to the open letter we wrote to President Biden. Please help us in defense of words, because in defending words, you're defending truth. Truth is a vital weapon as we are fighting information warfare. I don't want to walk around in a country where I feel like I'm already in prison, as Dmitri Kovigan was describing life in Russia.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have, we're in a kind of a different scenario now where it's not the government who's doing the brainwashing, right, or controlling it. It's people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and HiFi.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
I was waiting for that.
I was looking for something because someone didn't believe me that, and I'm sorry, it wasn't the GOP who was hiring teenagers to run online operations.
No, it was in Arizona. No,
it was actually TPUSA.
Okay, well, okay.
An extension thereof, right?
Yeah.
A CNP Coke-funded operation to drag our country into fascism through false realities.
Flynn was just on Charlie Kirk's show. It's the same fucking thing.
It's the same goddamn network, and I don't understand why people can't see it, and they keep pretending it doesn't fucking exist. And when people out there, like well-respected national attorneys, say that Michael Flynn isn't that important, and we have bigger fish to fry, I can't think of anyone else running around the country creating terrorist cells for an insurgency.
Word. Again.
That's all.
Again. Again. Like, not the first rodeo. I'm glad you brought up Peter Thiel, because I was annoyed that Politico did a whole bunch of words on J.D. Vance trying to quash Ukraine, but they forgot to use the headline, which I suggested, which is Peter Thiel replicant sucks Putin's balls.
Because Peter Thiel.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Fuck that guy.
Okay.
Jim's
turn.
Gelman.
Jim's turn.
One of the people on the aforementioned national insurrection tour, get ready, is a guy named Ivan Raiklin. Ivan Raiklin, little fucking munchkin about this guy, this high Flynn org motherfucker, and he ran for Senate very briefly in 2017. Guess who funded him?
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
You kidding? So
thank you.
So it's not. So it's not none of this shit is a fucking coincidence. And by the way, the group, the whole sort of group of people, the alt-right psychological, operators that launched Pizzagate and QAnon, funded by Peter fucking Thiel. It went from MAGA 3X to a group called Anime Right, and some other groups in 2017. All that shit was funded by Peter Thiel and through his mini-me Jeff Kaseya, who is a neo-Nazi who's in charge of Peter Thiel's fucking money.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Also worth, you guys.
We're approaching.
We're pushing envelopes, people.
Also worth noting that.
We're edgelords.
Also worth noting that same crew that Jim and HiFi were just talking about. When Macron's emails were hacked by the Russians, the French media had the sense to exercise restraint and not exploit and traffic in Russian military hacked goods. But that same crew went on a whole thing against Macron using the military hack stuff from Russia. And that is something that has not been properly investigated, because they were actually trying to influence France's election, just like they did in America. So, yes, high fidelity.
Jack Posobiec is on record as saying, I just did something to Macron that was worse than he was 15. Jack Posobiec, when Macron was hacked.
I mean, speaking of that, I mean, he also, had propaganda that claimed that Antifa was holding up signs that said, blank Melania.
Yeah.
It's all the same group of people. The same group of people who stood up. Most of the aforementioned Antifa, by the way, who are seen, in their own words saying, "Yeah, we made that shit up." We've been getting played by the same group of Russian Nazis for fucking decade. I'm very tired of them all.
Yeah, so am I. And meanwhile, Christopher Wray's keeping us safe from,
China's going to hack our infrastructures. Oh, no.
Just as we learned that it was basically Russia that was hacking the, just like...
That's the thing. Like, I see this big announcement. Chris Wray says the Chinese are hacking. And then I see another thing. It's like, no, actually, Russia did it.
Yeah, I know.
Literally within an hour. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it's not an accident. And it's not, it is not a coincidence. It's not, Chris Wray has been programmed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it is winning and how much of it isn't, to be perfectly honest with you, with that guy, because he just doesn't seem that fucking bright to me. Honestly.
Yeah.
But Chris Wray was hired by Trump. big fan of Comey, big fan of Charles McGonigal, the whole bit. And dude is going on Fox News pushing biolabs conspiracy theories against China.
Right.
That is not a dude that should be in fucking FBI at all. And every single thing that they do is oriented wrong. And you add that up to, let's too many optics about prosecuting anybody for J6 above Proud Boy. We read that in the newspaper. It said right there that Chris Wray and the FBI leadership blocked Garland for 2 fucking years. What is going on? Why are we allowing that? It's one thing that really pisses me off about Biden is that he's been very, very weak with his own people. Like, yes, we want an independent Justice Department. We want an independent FBI. But we don't have those if they're working for the other team. It's not some kind of democracy enabling phenomenon if you're letting these fucking guys run ops from inside your own government. The dude he hired a MAGA lawyer to write smear shit about Joe Biden in a special counsel report.
I read a very good article about how if, like, following through the scenario, let's say he did fire Garland, that would be like the only narrative carrying us through November and being political and all of that. So I think that there is an awareness of it, but there's also like a, I understood the argument, but I want to go to green shoots. But
that's a bad. It's just briefly because it's a bad. It is a bad argument. It's the same argument as let's live with fascism. It's the same norms, right? Like, we don't want to be seen as doing this or doing that. The minute that you say that, the minute that you distinguish and start to filter the crimes based on what you think the political situation is, you are doing politics. He's doing exactly to the institutions what he claims to be so concerned about. He's destroying the institution by claiming to protect it, by having it not do its fucking job and have people in it that are literally on the wrong side.
Can we crush Trump in November so we can go with the gal suburban philosophy of Biden getting really serious about taking care of some of this shit in the next 4 years of his term? Can we just go with that in this moment?
Well, no. And the reason,
Madam, I'm a pragmatist.
The reason is because we cannot vote our way out of this. If we all sit around and wait to vote, like we're not we're not going to get there. It's going to take more than that. It's going to take more action, more
moxie.
Moxie than
more moxie.
Just
some serious moxie. Okay, so I want green shoots.
Around and waiting for. Oh, let's hope the election turns out like.
No, we'll be working our asses off. Mary Trump, clinical psychologist, observed recently how it's nearly intolerable for Donald to sit there quietly. Ruth Ben-Ghiat also said that we cannot take for granted this trial, this election interference trial is even happening at all. Because if this were Turkey, Russia, China, Hungary, this would not be happening. So green shoots. I know, Jim. I just got to have a few green shoots, man. HiFi, I know you have some good news for us.
Well, I mean, let's see. For the first time in history, a jury has been sat against a former president.
Yeah.
We are in unparalleled times.
It's not going to save us, but
it's not going to save us. But let's keep in mind that Trump won 2016 by 77,000.
No. Right? Oh yes.
Roughly.
Yeah. No, that's right. So
and we know, right, that the convicted felon, former bagman for voter data, right? He used to work with the torturers lobby. He was, right hand behind the scenes for Viktor Yanukovych, Putin's preferred proxy in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Manafort has rejoined the Trump campaign.
Yeah.
Huzzah. How can it not be fucking obvious to people? I'm sorry. It makes me,
So when I was talking about good news, I was trying to queue up our final clip, but yeah.
Okay, all right, but
what do you got, Jim?
I can't let all this pie in the sky hopium go by. I'm sorry, but it is not a fucking good news that we are having this ridiculous show trial about this 8-year-old like porn star bullshit. A few months before the election. That is not helping anybody. I'm sorry, it's not. I never disagree with Ruth on anything, but in this particular case, I think that this is the equivalent of Fannie Willis. It is a limited hangout in the, we've heard this term before, right? You put somebody out and you make it seem like, ooh, this it's what he really did was lie about a porn star, right? This convict over here, Michael Cohen, who I happen to like and think he's doing, good work. But the way it is portrayed is this convict and this porn star are the ones that are accusing Donald Trump instead of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. Instead of the United States that he has defrauded and attacked and fucking sabotaged.
Mm-hmm.
So it's election interference.
I simply do not accept that it is somehow fucking good news that this barely functional case in a state court from 8 years ago that's good news. I'm sorry. I'm the doom guy. I know it. I'm the
no.
Heidi make a point. Heidi make a point, and then I have a point.
Hold on.
Stop throwing things.
She called it a small miracle, and it's simply that it's very difficult for the authoritarian to actually sit there and have to go through this publicly. So she was referring to that. It's not going to save us. 100% agree with you, Jim. High fidelity. What's your point, man?
My point has to do with information spheres, right? We know that a certain percentage of the population of this country, and more getting sucked in every day, are finding themselves in information spheres that, allow them to let racist tendencies come to the surface, allow hatred and bias to penetrate who they are and become part of what they are, right? And when we say that this is an election interference trial, the information sphere that we need to penetrate is armor plated against us. And that's where it becomes these are a bunch of degenerates, threatening our God King.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We're not penetrating that information sphere. And again, the only way to do that is with some extreme things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they could be. Maybe can the president just take 30 minutes on every single network in the country and say, look, here's what's going on.
Yeah, and also, not stop memory holing stuff like the coup. Okay, so I want one little bit of hopium from Jim. I know you got something for us, man. You got something, even if it's just a little green shoot. You got something for us, man.
I got a little something.
I want a little something from you too, High Fidelity, because I'm going to be working my ass off, working on messaging and all kinds of stuff. I got Wes Clark Jr. coming on Betty Dangerous's Speakeasy Sunday to talk about environmental messaging. So that's some real shit.
Let's see. I got challenged to debate Mike Flynn Jr.
Oh.
Ooh.
That'll be fun.
He challenged me on Twitter to come to an event and debate him.
Okay.
And I said, okay, how's Friday?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And that's tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. And
yeah.
I didn't hear back from him.
That's good though.
Oh. He called me a weak little bitch and some other, I don't know, I can't remember. Puss.
Hold it.
Some
the son of the Christian Mike Flynn.
Oh,
Mike Flynn Jr.
We know.
calling you a okay.
Stop that.
Very Christian.
Stop that.
I mean,
so what's the?
Anyway, I called him out because he wrote "calm before the storm" in a tweet about his daddy, which is QAnon.
Yeah,
that's QAnon.
Very much so. Very much.
So. It's not. It's only QAnon. Anyway, so I was like, I don't know, fucking giving him shit because he's just confessing all the things, and he said, all right, little bitch, why are you come debate me? And then he just disappeared from Twitter for the next 2 days.
At least he's not like his uncle where he goes and, wipes his entire Twitter feed.
Yeah, no, I don't think he has quite the drinking problem that Joe has.
Yeah.
But anyway, I found it to be hilarious and good news that do chicken shit to take me up on my offer.
Not the hopium I thought, but the hopium that we got. It's good.
I dug deep.
It's good. I love it. I love it.
Because I care.
I love it. High Fidelity. What's your little?
Well, hold on. Before we go, I think we have one more clip from Mr. Plax that I should share. So let's share this last one.
We cannot handle the evil. We cannot. We are afraid of touch it because it's some kind of I don't know why actually, but I think probably because people feel like if I touch the evil, I will be it's like a disease, Mm-hmm. I don't have to have a connection with that.
That is deep. It was basically in a question of why we're not directly dealing with Russian narrative warfare, and it is exactly what we've been talking about on this show. Like there's like a fucking fear behind it. All right, I think we have something beautiful to go out on. One of Jim's heroes.
Well, no, not yet, because I still have to share my little thingy.
Oh.
Right. Ooh, that didn't come out well. Anyway, I don't care. Speaking of looking into the face of...
You're going to hear that back.
Oh, I'm sure. They're going to clip that and use it for something. Anyway, what Dmitri was talking, people don't want to touch the evil. They don't want to confront the evil. They don't want to look the evil in the face. I would put forth the theory that, the three of us here on the screen have been looking this evil in the face for quite some time now, right? Directly into its eyes. And one of the things you do with evil is you lay traps for its beasts. And I laid a trap for a beast, and I caught him because I lost 3 Twitter accounts yesterday, 3 of them. I lost 3 accounts yesterday. And the reason I lost those accounts is because I wanted to speak with Mr. Aubrey Cottle, who is in the new Netflix show.
Can we
Shut up, Jim. It's my turn. My turn. Anyway.
All right. Is this going to be a long story?
I made a video for Mr. Aubrey Cottle, and he seemed very much for that not to want to be on Twitter. So I just thought I'd share that with the crowd so they can all see it.
And I want to dedicate this piece to all you players and all you ladies out there. The name of this piece is called My Bitch Better Have My Money.
And it's not about a personal grudge. It's about the fact that why is there a paper trail between myself and Mr. Aubrey Cottle? And how did that occur? People need to start asking that question because that breaks a lot of things in their altered reality. Now, let's go out on something nice. Let's go out on Miss Crockett taking some people to task.
As we talk about rhetoric, something else that was appalling to me, the Ukrainians, which is why we're having problems getting the funding that Ukraine needs, is because people in this chamber push misinformation and disinformation. They want to talk about the Ukrainians got all of these Nazis. Well, let me tell you something. You can find Nazis anywhere. You can find them right here in the United States. In fact, a bunch of the people that they're calling victims and prisoners of war, also known as convicted felons from January 6th. I have an article that I'd like to enter into the record by unanimous consent that says neo-Nazi January 6th rioter pleads guilty.
Without objection.
Thank you so much. So here's the point. We have people in this chamber that are actually causing just as much a threat, if not more of a threat, to our own country. We should be talking about holding our very own accountable for the misinformation and disinformation that they are spreading, whether it's coming out of China, whether it's coming out of Russia, or whoever is peddling it. It is a problem because right now what we see is that people are dying and we cannot get the support that we need from the public because they continue to peddle lies. And I'm tired of it because I didn't come to this chamber to play games. I came to this chamber to answer to the people, the American people, and to make sure that we keep the American people safe. And if we don't get something done, as they talk about the border, I do want to be clear. The only reason we haven't gotten funding for the border is because they killed, the House Republicans here killed the bill that they actually sent us from the Senate side. If they want to do some work, let me tell you something. The Democrats are ready, and it seems like the Senate Republicans are ready too. They just need to get to it and stop peddling Putin's lies. Thank you, and I yield.